I just saw where the UAE passport and citizenship program was ranked at the very, very top, like #1 of a ranking that particular company actually put out. And I'm going to show you and talk about this in this video today, why you do not want to get this passport and citizenship. There's all kinds of flaws with it. Evidently, he hasn't read the nationality law. There's all kinds of things that are negatives in here. Also, folks, if you want to legally get your income taxes to zero, how to get a second passport as quick as 45 days, do 3 things. Hit the subscribe button right on your screen right here, and you'll get new videos automatically as they come out. Number 2 is I would like to hear from you. If you got a question or comment, just put it below. And number 3 is go to our website, www.citizenshipquickly.com, and just ask for some help. Okay, now the UAE Citizenship Passport Program gives you, I saw 2 reports, one at 181, another one at 178. I think 181 is the correct figure of a number of countries that you can go to that are visa-free or visa-free on arrival. So as far as visa-free travel goes, it's a good passport. That's a high figure. To give you an example, St. Kitts has 162. So if the figure, the 181 countries and territories with UAE is correct, like I said, I saw 2 on 178, 181. I think the one at 178 is an old figure. Then what you're going to find out is it's quite a few more countries than St. Kitts has got. You're looking at roughly around 19 countries more. That's a lot of countries there. Now, but there's all kinds of flaws with the system. Remember, I have told you before, you want to get into a passport and citizenship that does allow dual citizenship, and now the UAE does, as of 2021, which I'm going to go over that with you, it does allow dual citizenship. This was a big negative, but there are other, now they've corrected that, but there are other problems too with this passport. Let me just highlight some of them, and then I'm going to go over more in detail with a few months. In other words, you have to have a reason to be out. So if you get a problem in that country and you leave the country, they'll just cancel your passport, okay? And they don't care if you've been there. Remember, it's 30 years for most people to get before you can apply for this passport. 30 years of residency in the UAE. That doesn't mean you're going to get the passport. It just means that you're able to apply for the passport after 30 years. Now, there are certain situations where you can get it quicker, but most people, unless you're an Arab, it's going to take you that long to actually get the passport. And that's 30 years before you can apply. So you're looking at maybe at least 31 to probably 35 before you're going to get the passport, okay? But the biggest problem, too, is the country's run by a dictator, okay? There is no, what I call rule of law. There is no freedom there, okay? I lived there myself for 4 years. I know what the country's like, okay? In the newspaper, to give you an example, the very top of the newspaper, when they were in cahoots with Qatar, anybody who favored Qatar basically and wrote in the article on Facebook or anything favoring or against the UAE, these were the figures, if I can remember correctly. It was a $500,000 dirham fine. It was 15 years in prison. There is no freedom of speech there, okay? So if you want to get a passport in a country where there's no freedom of speech, why don't you just go to China? Okay, I mean, these are the type of things that you're going to be dealing with. Sure, they don't have an income tax. They do have a corporate tax. Okay, and it's going to be pretty hard unless you make under a certain amount of money or you're in the free zone to avoid that. Why not just come to St. Kitts, get a passport here in 45 days? No language test. No income tax, no capital gains tax, no estate tax, no inheritance tax. You don't have to wait 32, 35 years to get the passport. And once you get the passport in St. Kitts, you can leave the country for 15 years if you want, and you don't have to tell any government authorities anything, and you don't lose the passport. This is the problem I have with this passport, okay? Now, I'm going to give you, there are ways that you can get this passport if you're still interested, fine, but I want to just go over the facts with you. Now, naturalization is limited due to fears of loss of Emirati national identity and conservative culture, which are both considered under threat due to foreigners outnumbering native Emirati people 11-1. I'm actually reading from the nationality law, so if you oppose what I'm telling you, this is the actual law I'm reading from. I'm not a lawyer, but I can read from the nationality law just like a lawyer does, okay? I'm giving you the facts right here, okay? Nationality is granted to a foreigner if he or she fulfills the following conditions. And number one is an Arab with ancestral origins in Bahrain, Oman, Qatar, who's been legally settled in the UAE for at least 3 years and has maintained a good reputation and has not been convicted of any crime. Another option, number two, is an Arab individual who enjoys full legal capacity, has continuously and lawfully resided as a member of Emirates for at least 7 years at the date of submitting a naturalization application, has lawful source of income, is a good reputation and of good conduct, and not been convicted of any offense involving moral turpitude or dishonesty. Another option that you can try to get in residency that will lead up to citizenship is any person with Arab proficiency who's been legally settled in the UAE since 1940 and has maintained a good reputation and has not been convicted of any crime. Another option is any person with Arab proficiency who has been legally settled in the UAE for not less than 30 years, with at least 20 years spent after the effective date of 1972 law, has maintained a good reputation and has not been convicted of any crime. Now, the residency requirements for Emirati citizenship may be waived by decree by the UAE president. And I did a video on this. They're actually, if you got some sort of, like if you're Roger Federer or you're a Tiger Woods or you got some sort of invention, but remember, you don't approach the government approaches you. So if you have that talent and they approach you, they can offer you a second passport. You don't have to drop your other passport, but most people are not going to get it. I mean, this is going to be a real rare exception here to getting the passport. Another option is any person who renders honorable service to the UAE. But again, they're going to have to pick you out for that. Any person who wishes to apply for naturalization has to be proficient in Arabic language, so you're going to have to learn that language. And it has a legal source of income. It has been in a continuous residence in the UAE, has an academic qualification, does not have a bad reputation, and has not been convicted of any crime. Now, this is the other thing, too, is been continuous residence in the UAE. That is real vague right there. Can you imagine if you were there for 30 years and all of a sudden they said, hey, you were gone for 6 months or 4 months, whatever, because they really don't spell it out here. That's the problem, okay? But again, a person that's convicted for misdemeanor or dishonesty may apply on the condition of fulfilling recuperation or rehabilitation. A wife of an Emirati national does not need to have an academic qualification to be eligible for naturalization. Now, nationality is granted after a state security background check is done. A ceremony in which the person has sworn allegiance to the UAE. The right to vote or the right to a nomination for parliament or governmental authority is limited to Emirati citizens by descent. Nationality is only granted once. Now, as per Human Rights Watch, many Emirati mothers have complained that the application process can be confusing and could take years for the authorities to respond. Can you imagine if you've been there 30 years and then it takes years for them to respond after that? Now, the amendments announced to the UAE citizenship law in January 2021 are aimed to attract only the elite foreigners. And that is, people that have some sort of, special talent. Now, dual citizenship, like I mentioned to you before, was permitted as of 2021. Now, you can lose the citizenship. A citizenship by descent may lose Emirati citizenship if he or she engages in military service of a foreign state without authorization from the UAE government and despite being instructed to abandon the service, or he or she acts for the interest of an enemy state. Now, this is, I want you to look, this is important. A citizen by naturalization, this is what you need to look at, may additionally lose Emirati citizenship if he or she commits or attempts to commit any act deemed dangerous against the state's security and safety. He or she is convicted repeatedly for disgraceful crimes. Any forgery, fraud, or adulteration is used in the acquisition of a naturalization, or he or she resides outside the UAE without, and this is the key, you reside outside the UAE without a valid reason for over 4 consecutive years. I said months before, it's 4 consecutive years. You can lose the passport, okay? So this is the key thing right here is if you ever get the passport there and you leave, you could lose the passport, forever, okay? It depends on if you get granted permission and you got good reason to do that. Now, will they grant you that? Who knows? You don't know that, okay? This is kind of a weird thing. I've never seen that before in any other country. Now, citizens are allowed to voluntarily give up Emirati citizenship. Now, renouncing citizenship is viewed as a shame with the Emirati community, as citizenship is usually attributed to the Emirati community sense of national identity. It's particularly hard to attain and entitles the holder of various benefits. They do give a lot of, they actually give land to, now whether they'll do it by the time you get the passport, I don't know, but they actually give out free land to people who are citizens of the Emirates there. Now, let's look at permanent residency. In May of 2019, the UAE Prime Minister Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum launched a permanent residency scheme in an attempt to establish the UAE as a home to the large number of expatriates. Now, subject to additional criteria, investors and professionals in healthcare, engineering, science, and art are eligible for permanent residency. The permanent residency scheme is expected to generate foreign investment, encourage entrepreneurship, and attract engineers, scientists, students of exceptional caliber. Folks, if you want to learn more on this and other things on second passports, if you want to get a passport as quick as 45 days, do 3 things. Hit the subscribe button, the right of your screen right here, and you'll get new videos automatically as they come out. And number 2 is I would like to hear from you. If you got a question or comment, put it below. And number 3 is go to our website, www.citizenshipquickly.com, and just ask for some help. I'll talk to you in the next video. Take care.